I'm willing to bet I'm not the only one that cringed when I saw what that bastard did to those girls. When we found out what he did to them, I cringed. And I was like, that bastard needs to be strangled. He straight up does. Like, sitting there crushing little girls and then forcing them into concrete. That is disturbing. That is really, really disturbing. This episode is going to be very controversial and probably piss off anyone that has a younger sister. If you have a younger sister or a younger niece or anything, you're probably going to get very pissed at this episode. I could see that, because when you saw what that dude did, like when he found out, and when you saw how Shadow Man, he was crying and all that, because let's put this in perspective. This episode begins a new case. It begins a new case. As we know, we're getting into different type of arcs, and as I theorized in last week's episode, I said that most likely we might get like a case of the week, like similar to Monster of the Week, but we'll get like a case of the week, and it seems like we are getting into something like that, because the case started this episode, it ended this episode, and I'm worried that we're just going to continuously go down this path for the rest of the series. Just get one specific case, and then get to the next case, and none of them really continue over and continue the plot. So that's the only thing I'm worried about. But besides that, the episode, there's many variables to this episode I can talk about. For one thing, just what that dude did, and then Shadow Man's standpoint in this investigation, it's very heart-touching. Now, I at sometimes in this episode, I did think that some of the scenes were melodramatic, especially with how the Shadow Man, how he was, like, I bring her back, why'd you do that, when he was grabbing the dude by his leg. I understand, he had all right to be in that type of, pain. If I saw something like that, I'd probably be upset too, but I personally can't understand the dude's, pain, because I've never been in that situation, but I do know it's definitely a sad, sad scene, because let's actually put this into consideration. If you think about it, we come to find out that the Shadow Man, the dude with the bag mask, he supposedly gave money for the operation for that girl that died and got turned into concrete statue. And he gave money away. And from what we saw at the beginning of this episode, he looked like he was homeless. He looked like he was a homeless man that didn't live anywhere. And from what we can assume is he might have given up his entire fortune or whatever money he had for that girl. And then she turns around and dies, maybe months later after, she starts to recover. And the dude, he did all that for nothing, because now she is dead. And so I could see why he's very upset, but like I said, some scenes did feel a little bit melodramatic, but it was still sad nonetheless. I did feel really bad for the Shadow Man, because, man, that's fucked up. Like, if you were to give up, like, your entire fortune for someone, save their life from this disease, and all of a sudden some sick-ass bastard comes in and kills this person, dude, I wouldn't know how to react. I wouldn't. I don't know how I would react to something like that. So, what I will say now, though, the episode, it wasn't necessarily smart. Like, it wasn't a smart episode to where I had to put my thinking cap on and discover, okay, so how's this person killing so-and-so? Like, I didn't really have to do that with this week's episode, which was the only real major disappointment to me, because when it comes to Ranpo, I like the type of series that make me have to think and figure out what has happened, for instance, how certain things have happened, like how the murderer kills this person. That's the main reason why I like these type of series. I'm slightly upset that we didn't have a type of episode where I had to really process and think, so how did this dude kill this person, how did he get the girl, stuff like that. I mean, there was detective work going on through this episode, especially with, the theater play when we get to see the breakdown from Kobayashi, but it's still, nonetheless, I was quite upset by how simplistic overall this investigation was. So, maybe not all investigations are going to be, witty and having to figure out how the criminal does it, but I just hope we get more of that type of stuff, because that's really engaging, and it makes me really get more in-depth with this series so I can find out what's probably going on next. The trap, or the reverse trap. I saw a couple Chibits last week, and in the comments in the first episode review I did, they said, wouldn't it be funny and a huge plot twist if Kobayashi turns out to be a girl? Like, wouldn't that be a huge-ass plot twist? And if that happens, that would be a fucking plot twist, because, I mean, from what we saw, Kobayashi's a boy, unless, it's a girl that's, thinking she is a he, and so that's understandable, but it would be a plot twist if you do come to find out he is a girl, and that's, like, one of the cases later on down the road, like, one of the main cases, probably the final cases of the series, when we find something like that out. I do wonder, though, if he is really a boy, or is it a girl? That's a huge question, because when he got into that dress this week, I'm like, trap! It's a trap! It's a trap! That's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh my god. So, I am curious about that. I am curious with you, Chibits, because I saw a couple of you mention it, and I do wonder that myself, if it is true or not. But regardless of that, we might not ever know. I mean, it just can be, you know, for fan service, reverse fan service. And I do hope that the gender-bent character, the character that looks like, you know, a girl, even though it's a dude, I hope it does serve some form of purpose in this series, because I hope it's not there just to be there, so to say, because usually when it comes to characters that reverse traps, especially series like this, like, you know, a series that makes you have to think, usually it's a character trait that does play a role in the series, so I do hope it does play a role in the future. And I think that's about it. I mean, Ranpo, very simplistic this week, not really much to dive into, because, I mean, it was just, you know, a sick-ass bastard killing people and killing girls because they didn't accept him as daughters and then putting them and forcing them into the concrete. So, tell me your thoughts in the comments below, how you feel about this week's episode. How do you feel about getting to see what happened? How do you feel about that trap fan service if you like traps? Let me know in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.